What do you think financial independence feels like? Go on, picture it. Waking up without an alarm, maybe on a Tuesday. Flying business class, sipping champagne. That expensive watch you've seen online. A huge house with a perfect lawn. A life where problems just don't exist. That's the fantasy. It's a nice fantasy, but that's not what it feels like. Financial independence doesn't arrive with a bang. With fireworks and a marching band, it creeps in quietly. So quietly, in fact, that most people miss the exact moment it happens. Because financial independence isn't about what you can finally buy. It's about what you no longer have to fear. Let me tell you what it actually feels like. The very first feeling isn't excitement. It's relief. A deep, profound relief. Not that temporary high you get when your paycheck finally hits your account. Not that fake relief you feel after swiping a credit card for something you can't really afford. This is the real deal. It's the relief of knowing that if everything goes wrong tomorrow, you're still going to be okay. Imagine your car breaks down. Instead of a wave of panic, you just think, okay, I'll get that fixed. Your boss sends one of those scary, "we need to talk" emails. Your stomach doesn't drop to the floor. An unexpected bill shows up in the mail. You don't immediately start calculating how many meals you'll have to skip this week. That constant low-level anxiety that hums in the background of your life. It just disappears. For the first time in your adult life, money stops screaming in your head. And when that noise stops, something amazing happens. You can finally hear yourself think. Financial independence feels like silence. Not the silence of boredom or emptiness. It's mental silence. The end of constantly checking your bank balance before you dare to open your emails. No more avoiding phone calls because you're scared it might be a debt collector. No more lying awake at 3 in the morning, replaying every financial mistake you've ever made. You don't necessarily feel rich, you just feel calm. And let me tell you, that feeling of calm is addictive. Most people have no idea how much of their personality, their daily decisions, their very mood, is shaped by financial stress until it's gone. Another thing nobody talks about is how your relationship with time completely changes. When you're financially trapped, time feels like an enemy. Every Sunday night brings that familiar sense of dread. Every morning feels like a race against the clock. Every hour of your day feels like it's owned by someone else. Financial independence softens time. You stop racing against the clock. You stop measuring your life in weekends and public holidays. You stop living for that 1 week of vacation a year. Monday morning loses its threat. The morning feels quieter, gentler. You start making decisions more slowly, more deliberately. You're no longer forced to sell your best, most creative hours just to survive. Time becomes yours again, and that's when your life starts to feel wider, more spacious. But here's the uncomfortable truth that a lot of finance gurus won't tell you. Financial independence doesn't make you happier overnight. It's not a magic pill. What it does is remove the immense pressure. It removes the fear. It removes the desperation. And what's left behind is you, just you. And that can be surprisingly confronting. Because when money stops being the number one problem, your real problems finally have room to surface. Your health, your relationships, your lack of purpose. Financial independence doesn't fix your life. It exposes it. It holds up a mirror. It's why some people actually feel lost after they reach it. They spent years, maybe decades, chasing this idea of freedom, without ever stopping to ask what they would actually do with it once they got it. Something else that grows is your confidence. But it's not a loud, flashy confidence. It's a quiet, unshakable confidence. You stop feeling the need to explain your choices to everyone. You stop tolerating disrespect at work just to keep your income. You start saying no when you mean no, without a long apology. Your voice literally changes. Not because you've become arrogant, but because you are no longer negotiating from a place of fear. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You can walk away. And the ability to walk away from a bad situation, a bad job, a bad deal, a bad relationship, that is real power. Financial independence also completely rewires how you see money itself. Money stops being an emotional trigger. It's no longer a source of guilt when you spend it or frantic excitement when you get it. It just becomes a tool, like a hammer or a screwdriver. You stop chasing those get-rich-quick schemes. You stop panicking every time the stock market has a bad day. You stop comparing your financial situation to your friends or that guy on Instagram. You finally understand that boring, steady consistency beats dramatic wins and losses every single time. The biggest irony is this: when you no longer desperately need money, you start making much better decisions with it. There is also this strange moment when you realize you're no longer impressed by the things that once motivated you. That fancy job title loses its shine. Buying luxury goods feels unnecessary. Status symbols start to look a bit loud, a bit desperate. You stop buying things to prove to the world that you're doing well, because you know you are. And that inner certainty is worth more than anything you could ever own or show off. But let's be honest about the downsides. Financial independence can feel lonely at times. Your priorities change. The things you want to talk about change. Your tolerance for drama and chaos drops to almost zero. You might find you've outgrown people who are still living in that paycheck-to-paycheck mindset, even if they have a high income. You might feel misunderstood when you choose a peaceful weekend at home over a stressful, expensive outing. That's a normal part of the journey. Financial independence separates you from the urgency-driven world. It doesn't make you better than anyone else. It's just different. But one of the absolute best feelings is the feeling of choice. Pure, unadulterated choice. You work on a project because you find it interesting, not because you're cornered by bills. You can take a day off to rest without feeling a crushing guilt. You can pursue a passion project that might not make any money for years. You can finally say the words, "I don't want that job. I don't need that deal. I don't accept that treatment." Choice is the real luxury, not the money itself. Another thing people don't expect is the return of gratitude. You start to notice the small things again. The taste of your morning coffee, a slow walk in the park without constantly checking your phone, a long conversation with a friend where you're not secretly watching the clock. When that constant pressure of survival disappears, your ability to be present comes back. You're not always living in the future, worrying about the next bill or the next career move. You're just here, now. And in today's world, that is incredibly rare. Financial independence also completely redefines success. Success stops being a number in your bank account. It becomes about alignment. How much control do you have over your own time? How much of your energy are you able to protect? How little stress are you willing to tolerate in your life? Your life often becomes simpler, not bigger, and you discover that simplicity is the new rich. But here's the most important part to remember. Financial independence isn't a destination you arrive at. It's not a finish line. You don't just wake up one day and feel done. You feel safe. You feel steady. You feel grounded. And from that foundation of safety, you keep building. But you're no longer building out of fear. You're building out of intention. And that makes all the difference in the world. So, what does financial independence actually feel like? It feels like taking a deep breath without a weight on your chest. It feels like sleeping through the night without fear waking you up. It feels like making a decision without a hint of desperation. It feels like standing still and calm while the world rushes frantically around you. It feels quiet, and in that quiet, you finally get to choose the life you actually want to live, not the life you were forced into. That's real financial independence. It was never about wealth. It was always about freedom. Thanks for watching.